In the past, I've helped other business owners answer questions that are helpful to run day-to-day operations, such as this one: how to properly do an inventory. If you're just starting out, or you're just running your tire shop, or you're growing and you're finding inventory struggles, this is the video you're going to want to watch, because whether you have 10 tires or 100 tires or 10,000 tires in your warehouse, the process is the same. But again, if you do like this sort of content, please help me by smashing that like button and subscribe, because again, I continue to share more tips like these in the future. And if you're in the tire industry, definitely you need to be subscribed to this channel. Also, don't be shy to say hi via LinkedIn or Instagram. I respond to all my comments and messages, and although it might take me some time, it is me who's responding them, so just bear with me. But again, just say hi or ask me a question anytime. Okay, so this is what you need. First, to start with an inventory, you're going to need a list of the inventory you're supposed to have. If you don't have this list, or if you don't have a list of all the inventory you're supposed to have, because you're either doing this for the first time or you don't have a system that could generate a list like that, then you could go ahead and skip this step, because by the end of this video, technically you should be generating a list, and that would be the list you would use for the future. Now, if you do have a POS system, this report should be called a physical count sheet. Now, if you don't have a POS system, well, you should consider it, because the sponsor of this video is called tirebase.io, and they offer an easy to use inventory management tool for tire shops, specifically saving you hours in time and effort. Way much better than generic POS systems like QuickBooks or Square, because those aren't built for tire shops. Tirebase is. So definitely check them out. We'll leave a link in the description below. There might be like a trial or demo, but yeah, feel free to definitely use them if you're interested. The next thing you will need, besides the actual physical sheet of inventory, is the inventory itself, right? So obviously we're gonna need to go and count the inventory in in a pen and paper. So those are the two things you need in order to run an inventory. Now, before you even start going out there and counting the inventory, I know you're excited to go out and count. It is important to make sure that your inventory is organized in a way that will make your life easier. Okay, so organize all of your inventory either by size or by brand. What do I mean by this? Well, you want to organize, if it's by size, you want to organize all the smaller tires by the bigger tires, right? So all the 13-inch, all the 14-inch, all the 15-inch, all the 20 inches, and so on and so forth. If you're going to be organizing them by brand, we'll then separate all the tires by brand, right? So all the Arroyos, or all the Michelins, all the Ironmans, or whatever. And again, I personally like to do a mix of both. If it's a big enough warehouse, we'll split them by brand and then by size within the brand, right? So all the Goodyears are split, but then it's all the 13-inch Goodyears, all the 14-inch Goodyears, all the 15-inch Goodyears. If you have less than 1,000 tires, honestly, just go by size. It's a lot easier, and it'll save your time a lot of, a headache, because brand is a little confusing, if it's just a little bit of inventory. Now that your inventory is organized, you have your inventory sheet, and you have the inventory itself and piece of pen and paper, you can start. Now, what we want to do is start counting our inventory. What you have in front of you is what you count. You don't go based on what the paper says. I have a lot of people that go and say, okay, well, I have all these 10 tires. I'm going to start counting these 10 tires. So where is the 205, 55, 16? And they're walking around the warehouse trying to find the 205, 55, 16 until they find it. And then they go based off the list. The problem with this method is that if for whatever reason you have tires in your physical warehouse or location that are not on your list, then you're never going to be able to find them. And that's a problem, because we actually want to find those tires so that we can add them into our list or into our POS system. But if you're going based off the list, you're never going to find overage or, I guess those excess supplies. So again, in this case, the recommended method is, if you have all your 13s, you get a row and you start going through all that row, and you go through like a snake, like just going through all the hallways and counting every single thing. And then you start looking it over through your page, right? So if I have in front of me a 205, 55, 16 Goodyear, I'm going to look at it on my sheet, find it, and then I'm going to say, okay, I count 4. I'm going to put 4 right here. And then I'm going to move to the next set of tires, and then I'm going to look it over on my list, and so on and so forth. Some people, what they do, if you're just going by rows, it's very easy to know where you left off. But what some people do is they'll mark the tire that they counted, so that they remember, that those tires have been already counted. And that works, again, if you have a really large inventory and you want to mark them, or if you're going to be leaving and installing or going for lunch and you don't want to recount some tires, well, maybe you do want to leave a mark. Now, again, and I want to emphasize this a lot, guys, so I'm sorry if I'm a bit repetitive here, but the goal of an inventory is to add tires that are not in the list or remove tires that can no longer be found. Really, that's the whole goal of the inventory, right? Another mistake I see people do is that they do identify tires that are missing, and then they will go, investigator mode and try to find what happened to these tires, right? So let's assume you get 4 tires and your list and you can't find them. There's nowhere to be found. You finished your inventory, nobody found them. Well, then you go into your POS system and you start asking questions. Where are those tires? Blah, blah, blah. And 1 hour passes by and now you didn't finish the inventory and you didn't even find out what happened with that tire. So normally I really recommend you should break down your inventory process in the following steps. I'm going to make it easy for you guys. So just make sure you take a picture of this or just memorize this, right? So the first step is you do a physical count. And this is a get down and get it done once and done, right? And so I've done an inventory count of about 2,000 tires and it takes me less than 2 hours, right? But again, technically it depends on the sizes, right? This was wholesale, so a lot of these sizes were the same. It just required me to count them and make sure that everything's good. The second part is doing the inventory adjustment. So once you have a list that you have said, okay, I did all my inventory count, now it's to go out there and adjust the inventory, right? So if you have a POS system or an Excel sheet or whatever, you're gonna go out there and you're gonna adjust all this inventory. Hey, before we had 4 Goodyears, now we don't. Well, I'm gonna put 0 and I'm gonna adjust it. I'm gonna say that they're missing. Again, you don't want to investigate just yet because it's just you leave the investigation towards the end, and we're gonna get there in just a moment. But the idea here is that you count the inventory, you do the inventory adjustment, and you do the inventory adjustment immediately, right? Because the moment you don't do the inventory adjustment, there might be people selling some of the tires already. Some tires might be getting moved, and so it can become very confusing very quick. So the idea is that you want to count the inventory, you adjust it, and you generate a variance report. The variance report simply signifies what was the difference, right? Hey, before we had 100 tires, or let's say we had 100 tires in our list, we only found 90 tires on our list. There's a variance of 10 tires. And that's where we move to step 3, we investigate, or the respective department or the person, whoever is doing it, investigates. And here is where you now sit down, or the person in charge sits down and reviews this adjustment report and investigates one by one what happened. Perhaps, these Goodyears that we couldn't find were never added into our system, or perhaps the sale, someone sold the tires, but they put the wrong SKU on the system and the wrong tires were captured out. A very common issue is, John Doe here sold 4 tires with a SKU 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And he put it on the POS system as SKU 1, 2, 3, 4 because he didn't type the 5, because that's how employees are, right? And so, well, in the system, 1, 2, 3, 4 now has -4, but these tires are still marking as 4. So now we show, hey, we had 4 tires, but where are they? Well, they were sold. Nobody stole them. They were just invoiced with the wrong SKU. And so that's very common. Something that you could address or fix that is running a negative variance report or negative physical inventory count. So it's a list that will show you all the items that have negatives. And typically these are really easy ways to just review all the tires that have negatives, because you can't be selling something you don't have. So if someone sold something and it's negative, it just means that you didn't receive a PO, or you sold it under the wrong SKU and you have to correct it. Now, this is a tip for the larger people or larger warehouses or locations with, over, let's say 1,000 tires or 2,000 or 5,000 tires. If you want to make your inventory a little bit more manageable rather than, counting all your inventory at once, I do recommend doing cycle counts. So what does this mean? You implement the same process of counting the inventory, adjusting the inventory, and investigating the variances, but you break it down by size, right? So instead of counting all the 13s, 14s, 15s, 16s, 17, 18, 19, all the inventory you have, well, maybe you just count the 13s. And, again, instead of counting 2,000 tires or 10,000 tires, maybe you're only going to be counting 100 tires, and you're only going to be investigating and adjusting 100 tires. And what this does, it's just a little bit easier to digest, a little bit easier to investigate, and you're slowly, improving your inventory as you go. So again, a good best practice is to do cycle counts. I would recommend doing them weekly Every week, someone has to be doing a cycle count. Someone has to be even either counting all the good years or all the Ironmans or all the 13s. And then someone needs to be investigating all these variances. And we need to learn, again, if Joe invoiced under the wrong SKU, we have to train Joe and tell him, hey, this is wrong, brother. Let's teach you how it should be done, so that we can improve and we can grow and we can become a better company. Finally, when it comes to inventory, if you are doing cycle counts, you do want to have a full inventory count at least once a year. Normally, you can do this whenever it's a holiday. But anyways, guys, there you guys have it. A quick summary is you need to have an inventory sheet of what you have currently. If you don't have one, use tirebase.io. Then you need the inventory itself organized, organize it by size or by, brand. And then you follow the inventory process. You first count, then you adjust, and then you investigate, okay? And so you could do that through cycle counts or full inventory counts. And it's really that simple, guys. Again, thank you so much, Tirebase, for sponsoring this video. Again, their POS system starts at $60 per month. Not sure if they're gonna increase the price, so if price has increased, I apologize, but again, at the time of doing this video, that was $60 per month. Honestly, it saved you tons of hours, so feel free to check them out. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.